Good morning, sisters.
Good morning.
We're here today to share with each other and with people who might someday see this tape something about our lives in retirement. The things that influenced us, what it's been like, what we would suggest to others, and things like that. So let's start with a very simple question first. What helped you to decide to change your life, such as to come back to the center? Anybody who wants to start can just start.
Well, I think I'm the oldest in the group. So
Okay.
I'm Rita Kane, and I served in Central Pacific for 57 years. For many years I planned to retire to Monrovia, which is such a beautiful place, but then I kept staying on in Hawaii until I was 87, and by that time other people I knew in Monrovia that were my age were going back to the center, so I thought I might just as well go back to the center. So I think for me it was a very good decision, and I've been happy here.
Okay, how about somebody else?
I'm Teresa Mangieri. I spent 19 years in the Philippines, and then I worked in the renewal office, and then at the age of 70, I went to Zimbabwe in Africa. Then when I finished, turned over my work there, I decided to come back to the States, but I wasn't ready to retire. So I went to North Carolina, believe it or not, has very similar climate to Zimbabwe, which is beautiful. So after working in North Carolina for 12 years, I did a discernment in a retreat and decided that I'd like to come back to the center before I got sick or before I couldn't function well. So during the discernment, I talked it over with the spiritual director, and she thought it was a good idea for me to come back here. So I did, and I'm happy that I came when I'm able to make a good adjustment here. And I asked Pat where I could volunteer, and she gave me 3 places to go, and I chose to go to the development office. And so what I do is I call up all the major donors, anyone who gives $500 or more, I call on the telephone. Many of the sisters tell me, I would hate that job, but I really enjoy it because I'm talking to people from Hawaii and every state in the United States, and I have an opportunity to thank them for helping us all these years and giving us money. So it's very enjoyable work, and the thing that's nice about retirement is that I'm free to do it as often as I want, and my schedule is very flexible. And that's one of the things I like about retirement. I don't have to do anything. I just enjoy doing what I can do when I want to do it.
Okay, I'll speak next.
Okay.
Listen, I'm Sister Stephanie Nakagawa. I entered in Pearl Harbor Day, and I was interned here. And Mother Mary Joseph said, when I was assigned to Hawaii, she said, I'll tell you, it's not time to go to Japan yet, so we'll send you to Hawaii, and when the time comes, you'll go to Japan. And so I stayed there in Hawaii, on Maui, one place, and I stayed there for 14 years. And I remember when Mother came once, she said, you're still waiting? I said, yeah, I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. And so finally, after 14 years, I got assigned to Japan, and I was in Japan for 40 years. So altogether, I was out 54 years. And then what made me come back was when I was on renewal the last time, they said we should be thinking about retiring sometime, everybody should think about what to do when they retire. And so when I went back, I was here in retirement, renewal, I said, okay, I'll help. They needed somebody to sew for the help the sisters in the, it was called assisted living in the Eden community. And so I said, well, at least I could sew something. So Sister Joan Berlinger said, all right, come on, sign up. So I signed up. And I told her, I'll sign up for this during the time of the renewal. And then I went back in 1998. And then we were having a community meeting. They said, now listen, we have to plan for the future. So what are you all going to do? So right away I put up my hand and I said, I'm going to retire in 3 years. That was in 2001. And I said, 2001? They said, yes. I said, because I don't want to be told to go home, or I don't want to be carried home, and I don't want to be, I want to go back on my own and be able to do something. So I said, so in 2001, and I hadn't realized it was the 9/11 either, but shortly after that, I came back, and then Sister Joan Berninger said, oh, come on now, let's sign up for a sewing, because she said, we have somebody, who could sew. They need somebody who could sew too, so I said, all right. And so she said, could you do a contracted volunteer? So I said, okay, every year, every December, at the end of December, January, I decided, okay, I'll do it as long as I can. So I did that for 11 years. And this year, at the end, I told Sister Jerry that, it's time for me to retire. I mean, after I hit 90, I said no more that kind of schedule. So she said, all right, but they couldn't find anybody, but until somebody came home. And so I said, all right, I'll retire. And so I said, but everybody took this word retire, meaning I was retiring as such. But I said, no, I'm retired from that job. I'm going to do something else, And so I'm doing something else now. And I'm enjoying myself. I enjoyed myself very much when I was doing the work, but now I'm doing other work, which I'm enjoying too.
Good.
Well, I'm Sister Mary Reese, and I spent my 57 years in Tanzania. And when I left Tanzania, I was in a very active ministry. I was very involved with the Hiv-Aids Ministry. And I got involved in that in the early 80s. People would be coming and say, come see this person, come see that person. And I would go, and they were very emaciated, very no treatment. So we just had to try to make them comfortable. And so then there was a program, Youth Alive program. So we decided to work with the youth. It's a structured program, and we would get the youth in for 4 days, teach them what AIDS was, what to do for the people, how to prevent it. And then these youth, they would go around to their peers and to the community and teach the people. So from that, then we got very involved with the support groups. The women who had AIDS, they would come together and spend a day, get a good breakfast, good lunch, and really enjoy one another, share their stories. So they used to call that day Paradise. They would go to Paradise for a day. And then we started with the men, and from the men and women, we got involved with the orphans. They were very concerned. Very concerned that their children wouldn't get to school. So we started a school program, making sure the children got to primary school anyway. So then we worked with the children, got them to school, and then on Saturdays we would invite them to come for a play day. So all day Saturday they would come, have their breakfast, play. We had some kind of health education, some kind of education to help the children with their social life. And then we had a good lunch, and then they hated to go home. It was wonderful to be with
How
them.
many years, sister, did you do that work?
I started that in the early 80s.
In the early 80s.
Oh.
And you did that right until you decided to come home.
And then it was a very expansive program, so we
Yeah.
had to hire young girls and boys and older people too to work with this program. So then, as I was getting older, they were getting more involved. They were able to write the projects, they were able to get the funding, they were able to make the reports. So I said, let them shine and let them fly, as they were doing a wonderful, wonderful dedicated work. So we're still in touch with them, and they still continue to carry on with that program. So we're very proud and happy. And I was getting to be 87, so I thought I'd better do something else.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Our definition of retirement. Because many people think retirement means you stop working, but all of you came back, did a lot of still very active things, and are continuing to do very active things and helping where you can. But what do you find most satisfying about retirement? What do you like about being retired? Even though you continue working, helping out where you can, or doing, other works than you have done all your life. But what do you like? What's most satisfying for you?
Well, I've always been very interested in justice and peace issues. So ever since I came back, I've been active in Center Cerns. And the very first week I was back, there was a Pax Christi meeting. And that includes Maryknoll Sisters and other people from the area. So I went to the first meeting. I had belonged to Pax Christi, but we didn't have a Pax Christi group in Hawaii. So I've been involved in that ever since. And on this coming Saturday, I'm going to a regional meeting with the new staff of the national meeting down in Long Island. So that's been very satisfactory for me. Also, there are enough people around to have a bridge club, a bridge game every week, and there are just a lot of things, a lot of activities at the center that I've enjoyed. I've been living more recently in a sort of isolated place and didn't have an opportunity to socialize that much, so maybe it was especially appealing to me to be with a grouper. Like someone said, some of your own group is back. Also, I find people from your region who are back that you can relate to, so I felt very much at home since I came back. And always had people to relate to. So altogether, it's been very satisfactory for me.
Yeah, I still feel I'm very active, even though.
Oh, you are though.
Yeah, I'm really not retired, but it's wonderful to have the time. I can, you don't have to be any place at any certain time. I can have time for my exercise, I have time for my prayer, for my reading, for my study. And when I was in Tanzania, my family saved all the letters I ever wrote. So I have them, and I'm enjoying just going through them and reading. So it's getting connected with the sisters again, that we were in the same group we were with in Tanzania. And getting to know the new sisters. I mean, many sisters we never met.
Yeah, right.
So to get to know them and to have a connection with family. I enjoy that very much, and they enjoy it too, that I'm able to be with them.
Where are you from?
Delaware, we went to Delaware.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then I have a brother in Florida, so it's very nice to make connections with family again, and try to make connections with the community here, the outside community, a little bit. We're able to do that, so I'm very happy about that.
Good. How about you, Mary? What do you enjoy, or what do you find satisfying about
Oh,
retirement?
well, I always love it here. I love everything about the mother house except the floors. I have to walk on. And I have thought of Monrovia, and I still don't know whether, people tell you this, that, or the other thing about age or not age or whatever, anyhow. So I haven't really gotten into anything yet. First I was on renewal, and then I fractured my wrist. Thrown off a horse twice in Bolivia, but I never broke anything. And I come back here and break my wrist.
Well, I work in a small department in the development office, and the young woman that I work with is 31 years old, and she keeps me active all the time. So it puts me in, I know the US culture better, and I know her, and I know problems that the people are having. So it's a very exciting for me to be with her and work. I feel that it was a transition to go from a two-sister house for most of my Maryknoll life to come to this big house. But of course, I've always known Maryknoll and loved it, and the years that I spent in the renewal office, I got to know almost all the Maryknoll Sisters. And that was a big plus for me, because I know so many. So the thing is, the adjustment was to go to, from a small house to this huge house, you know. But, you know, you do things that, the other blessing about being retired is that there are so many opportunities here, but it's all optional. If you don't feel like going someplace, you don't feel guilty. You just don't go, you know. So that's a freedom that you have, you know, that there are so many opportunities, but you don't have to take every opportunity there is, or else you would go crazy, you know. And I'm very grateful for the time. The library is so wonderful to have. And to be able to go there and read all kinds of books and all kinds of newspapers and everything, that's another big plus. And so I'm grateful for that. Well,
Now that you are in a different setting here, though, you are, you know, we sometimes were raised in the culture of, you know, missionary work is out there, it's with other people, you know, it's with the poor, or it's with people that are not in this country. Do you feel that you're still a missionary here? Like, some people kind of feel like if I retire, I won't be a missionary anymore.
Oh, I
But
don't believe that at all. I think this is the most wonderful place to be towards the end as you retire, you know. The mother house, you started here and you're going to end here. I mean, that has to be in your head. I mean, that when you start, this is where you started and this is where we probably end. And I think, like for me, having helped all these sisters who have spent hundreds of years out on the mission, now they're back, and now they're doing what the Lord wants them to do, their illness, that's their mission, and to be able to help them, I think they teach us more than we teach, you know, did for them. I think that it's tremendous to be here and to do that. No, I don't feel that. I feel I'm here on a mission, all right, because the mission is taking care of the sisters who have been and who are now facing going towards God, you know, going home again. So I don't.
Yeah, I feel we're in mission to one another.
Oh, yes, too.
And we can do that by being friendly and kind, and also visiting the sick.
Yes,
We
that's a
have
big
a
thing.
wonderful opportunity on the 3rd and 4th floor. We have our friends up there. We have sisters we never knew before, but that we're able to go up there and help in the pastoral ministry.
So what advice would you give to people who are still not sure they're ready to retire yet, whatever that means? What kind of advice would you give to people who are thinking about retirement, or thinking about what it would be like to return here?
Yes, I've been wanting to. We have a few people in the Bolivia region that they don't get around as well as I do. They're not thinking of coming up yet, but I want to tell them to come up while they can come and get into things on their own before they're dragged up and put someplace.
Yeah.
Yes.
the most important thing, I think, it's my own feeling about it, is that you have to really plan. You can let things happen, and sometimes it doesn't happen. But you really have to pray about it and discern about it and plan. And if you do that, you'll make a good adjustment. But if you don't plan it, and people have to force you to come back here or really strongly encourage you to come back because they see you're not ready to make that decision, it's better that you make the decision yourself because you have prayed about it and you realize that it's time to move on. And as Maryknoll Sisters, we've always moved on.
Yeah.
So that but you cannot do that. Ask your friends to talk to you and tell you, and through a proper discernment process, you can come back here and make a good decision.
That's what I think, discernment, like, I discerned with when we had our meetings and everything, but I think it probably should be part of our assemblies or something, in the regions, to think about, because some need more help than others to make that decision, I think.
I think it's
You
an
have to
attitude.
really listen to your health, your body, your coworkers, your community, and put them all together and, really make the decision.
My mother said, move on. Remember, my mother, when you finish with one thing, move on and return. And since this was the beginning, for me, I would say it's your attitude, I think, your outlook. They have to have the outlook that I wanted to go back, and I will go back, and I would like to do this or that, and to think positively, not negatively, positively, because each new day is the beginning of new life, and that's what I think, that if you have the right attitude, when you come back, you're going to be happy.
I agree with all of you.
The thing is that the sisters have to realize that being in mission doesn't mean that you physically have to be out there. You can be in mission right here.
Right.
So that when you make a decision to come here, you're not a missionary anymore. Missionary is who you are. And so you can be a missionary no matter where you are in the world, because that's who you are. So that if some of our sisters we have seen have hung on. I can't leave my mission.
Yeah.
But none of us are needed. We can always turn our work over to the lay people, which we all have done. And the work that I had in Zimbabwe was a home for unwed mothers. The young woman that I chose, the work is flourishing without me. And I'm so proud of her, because it's going on even during when they had no money. You know what she did? She didn't take a salary for 2 years so that the work could go on. So we have to be prepared, not only ourselves, but prepare the people that we work with. Let ourselves go and change. But if you're stuck to a place, and you're stuck any place, then you have a serious problem with it.
But we'll never, never, never forget our mission and all the wonderful life we had there, and we're just all so grateful. And I'm so happy that I have all that experience, and wonderful thoughts I can live with, and to be able to share that with my companions was wonderful.
I feel very fulfilled too. I've done all sorts of ministry, and some I never would have anticipated. I began teaching, and then after some years I was assigned to the children's home, and from there I worked with delinquent children in the family court, and then on the RGB a couple times, and then I began volunteering at a shelter for battered women and children. Then I went on the staff, part-time, then full-time. And then I came back and served in the Mission Institute for 3 years. When I went back, I went out to a largely Hawaiian area and worked with homeless families and all sorts of opportunities. So even though I entered to go to Japan, I never got as far as Japan. I feel very fulfilled. And I was able to work with Japanese among many other people in Hawaii, which is a wonderful multicultural area. And I'm grateful for my life.
But if we all come back here, we're not gonna fit.
Oh, no,
We'll
we'll
find a
take care of
place.
that. There's still
Some of us
plenty
will
of.
have to die off.
We'll take care of that.
No, I'd have been happy to die in Bolivia, but as things worked out,
Too bad we have to get old.
No, you wouldn't want to miss it, would you?
But I think it was interesting what Sister Stephanie said about retirement is not an ending
Yeah.
of your life. Retirement doesn't end your life, it's just another step, and it's another beginning.
It is.
And to be able to look at it with that kind of attitude would be very important and probably, influence the way that you will retire or how you will come here, what would be your attitude. Some people come here and they're very, very mistrustful that they're ever gonna be happy here. What would you say to those people?
Lighten up.
Give it a try.
Right, yes. And think of what you would have liked to do then. What kind of things from now on would you like to do? You know, for me, I haven't even gotten to my hobbies yet. And I said, now I have time, I can do some hobbies. I guess for many I can't, and haven't gotten down to that. I said, gradually I'll have to do something, but I mean, it's like that. You're looking forward to doing things, You have to think, what would I like to do now? You have this is the chance.
You just have to be.
Yeah.
You have to do.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Always,
It'll
what
come.
are we gonna do? We're
It's
sisters,
coming.
We
It's
always
coming.
have to do something.
You don't have to do anything. It'll come to you. Don't worry.
His presence.
I feel the sisters who are not happy, probably, my guess is,
Word.
they haven't made the decision.
Still.
That the decision was forced on them, that they didn't do
That
any
could be, yeah.
serious prayerful discernment with other people and heard what other people are saying so that they could make a definite decision. Once you make a decision to come here, then you learn to adjust. And I think what I said before is what I read in the book. Do not think of what you cannot do. Think of what you can do.
Yeah, see?
But that's why I think it's important to begin to think about it in
Yes.
our regions
Yes.
first, to kind of
Yeah.
mentalize our, whatever.
Yes, it-
Because, like you say, if you come, there's some people maybe weren't happy where they were never going to be happy.
See, I'm one of those who love to travel, but I don't travel that much. But I've been in Hawaii, say, one house for 14 years. I went to Japan, and in one house for 35 years, in another place for 5 years, I stayed in one place all but somehow we get around though.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we get because then I had a group of students, you see, because I was teaching. So every year you take your class for a trip. In Japan, you have those school trips. So there I was going all around Japan, so I got to see all of Japan. So when the guests came, I could take them around and show them the places, when the superiors came, we took them down to Hiroshima and all those places, So we got to know them. And there are other wonderful things, and you can do them right here. There'll be the opportunities. You don't have to look for them. They'll come to you.
And since I've been here, like those 3 times, those African sisters that we formed, they have been here. And one came, especially Catherine Tepke, she was a friend of Catherine Tepke. She came, brought flowers. You had to put them on the grave. The other one came, they had to see that grave of the sisters that worked with us over there. So it's wonderful keeping contact with people in Tanzania.
Well, I want to thank you very much for sharing, and you certainly have helped us to understand more how fulfilling retirement can be. And doesn't have to be this scary time in your life, but it is necessary to make adjustments, like Teresa said. And so I want to thank you for your sharing.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Very.